Welcome to Her Subconscious Blueprint, your no BS space for subconscious healing, bold breakthroughs, and manifestation. I'm Jen Boyd, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new healing hype girl. Today, we're going to talk about something that so many women experience, but very few women fully understand it. And because we don't understand it, we internalize it. We think it means something about our own worth. We think it means something about our desirability. We think it means something about our attachment style or our ability to not get too invested. But what we're really dealing with most of the time is chemistry mixed with inconsistency. And that combination is neurologically addictive. Today's episode was inspired by something I saw on Instagram, and it was a reel talking about how when something starts strong, drops off, and then resurfaces, just enough to keep you hooked, that is not alignment. It's intermittent reinforcement. Later that night, I was telling a few of my girlfriends about the reel, and the topic immediately resonated. It turned into one of those conversations where everyone had experienced this in some version of the same pattern, different stories, different men, but the same cycle. And I realized this is such a common experience. So many women go through this. And most of the time we internalize it and overanalyze it instead of understanding what's actually happening beneath the surface. That's when I knew this had to be an episode. I want to speak to the women who met someone and it started strong. The conversations were consistent. The attraction was obvious. The energy felt mutual. There was initiative. There was presence. There was effort. It felt easy. It felt exciting. It felt like something was unfolding naturally. And then it just dropped off. Not in a dramatic way, not in a clear way that I'm not interested way, just in a subtle shift, a slight delay, a little less enthusiasm, a little less consistency, a little less effort, a little more space, and then silence. Then out of nowhere, he resurfaces. And when he resurfaces, it feels good again. The chemistry is still there. The physical connection is still strong. The banter is still easy. There's just enough attention to remind you of how it felt in the beginning. And then it lightens again. Communication becomes inconsistent. Effort becomes sporadic or even barely there. You feel the shift in your body before you can fully articulate it in your mind. So you ask for clarity. You try to be direct but grounded. You try not to come across as being too much or crazy. And the response you get is something along the lines of, I've just been busy, or work, or I've been sick. And this is the moment where most women start rationalizing. And let me tell you something, and I really hope this lands the way it needs to, but busy men text, busy men call, busy men make a fucking effort. Busy men who are genuinely interested, they don't suddenly forget how to communicate. They do not disappear for days and then reappear when it's convenient. They do not leave you in a confusion while claiming they are just overwhelmed. Every adult is busy. Everyone has work, responsibilities, stress, deadlines, family obligations, and competing priorities. But people consistently show up for what matters to them. Effort is not about having unlimited time. It's about intention. And when someone repeatedly says that they're busy while still keeping just enough connection alive to maintain access to you, what they are really communicating, whether consciously or not, is that you're optional right now. This does not mean that you are unworthy. It does not mean that you are asking for too much. It simply means that the alignment is not mutual. And alignment never feels like being optional. And here's something else that matters. When you accept inconsistency in the name of being quote unquote understood, you slowly train yourself to tolerate less than what you actually desire. It does not happen dramatically. It does not happen subtly. It starts adjusting over expectations. You start telling yourself you don't need that much communication. You start pretending that you're fine with light effort. You start saying things like, it's casual anyways. even when your nervous system is quietly craving steadiness. And this is where self-abandonment gets disguised as being low maintenance. There is nothing attractive about shrinking your standards to keep someone comfortable. If you have to downplay your needs to keep access to someone, that is not alignment. This is negotiation. And why are you willing to negotiate your worth? That should not be up for negotiation. And real alignment does not require negotiation at the foundation. You don't need to shrink to fit into someone else's life or container. You are allowed and worthy enough to be with someone that meets you exactly where you are. Now, here is where this becomes important. Because when someone shows up inconsistently like that, your nervous system does not register romance. It registers unpredictability. And you find yourself wondering whether you are overthinking it. You find yourself asking friends for perspectives. You find yourself replaying conversations. You find yourself checking your phone more than you would want to admit. I want to gently introduce something that may completely reframe this for you. When something starts strong and then drops off and then resurfaces just enough to keep you hooked, this is not alignment. This is intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement is a psychological concept that refers to rewards that are given unpredictably rather than consistently. And what makes this important is that the intermittent rewards are more addictive than consistent ones. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling so addictive. The unpredictability creates a strong dopamine response because your brain is constantly scanning for the next possible reward. So when you experience a man who shows up strongly and then disappears and then reappears with just enough charm, just enough desire, saying the right things, just enough chemistry to reignite the spark, your brain is not responding to love. It is responding to unpredictability. And unpredictability creates attachment that feels intense. It is not even about him anymore. It becomes about the dopamine hit of the maybe. Maybe he's still interested. Maybe he will show up differently this time. Maybe it will go back to how it felt at the beginning. Maybe this is just a phase. Maybe you just need to be patient. Maybe he really is busy. And your nervous system starts confusing chemistry for connection. Chemistry is immediate. Connection is built. Chemistry is a spark. Connection is a structure. Chemistry can happen in a night. Connection requires consistency. And when chemistry is paired with unpredictability, it creates intensity. But intensity is not the same thing as safety. Your body can feel lit up and unsettled at the same time. That feeling of anticipation, the constant checking of your phone, the spike when his name appears, that's activation. And activation feels powerful. It feels passionate. It feels magnetic. But safety feels different. Safety feels calm. Safety feels steady. Safety feels like you do not have to brace yourself for silence. If your body is in a constant cycle of activation and relief, this is not deepening intimacy. This is a stress loop. And the longer you stay in the loop, the more your nervous system starts to normalize chaos as attraction and confusion. So let us look at the pattern clearly and without emotion for a moment. Start strong, silence, reappears, and alignment never feels like being optional. You have a physical connection, light or inconsistent communication. You ask for clarity, says, I've just been busy. But like I said, when a man is genuine and aligned, you don't have to call out his basics. You do not have to request consistency. You do not have to negotiate for effort. Consistency is natural. Communication is natural. Initiative is natural. You don't have to feel like you're asking for crumbs. You feel steady, and steadiness is what your nervous system registers as safety. So what keeps pulling women back into these cycles is rarely the man himself. It is the physical chemistry. It is the ego validation. It is the memory of how it felt when he was fully engaged at the beginning. It's the fantasy of what it could be, even if it was just for a week or two. Intensity can feel like depth, but they are not the same thing. Intensity is loud, depth is steady. Intensity spikes, depth is built. Intensity is magnetic and intimate, depth unfolds over time. When someone begins with intensity, your brain releases dopamine. Novelty activates the reward system. Attention feels good. Desire feels validating. Your body feels alive. If there is a physical chemistry involved, oxytocins and dopamine combine to create bonding. It feels powerful. It feels rare. But when the intensity disappears, your nervous system registers loss. Cortisol rises. You start analyzing. You start scanning for clues. You start trying to regain the feeling you had in the beginning. Then when he resurfaces, the relief feels even stronger than the initial excitement. The dopamine spikes. It's amplified because it follows a period of uncertainty. Over time, your brain starts associating him with reward, but because the reward is inconsistent, the craving intensifies. You're not weak for feeling attached in this dynamic. You're human. Research in behavioral psychology shows that intermittent reinforcement schedules create the strongest and most persistent behaviors. When rewards are unpredictable, the brain works harder to obtain them. That means you think about him more, you replay interactions more, you anticipate messages more. This isn't about love. This is about neurochemistry. You are not addicted to him. You are attached to the possibility. You're attached to the version of him that existed at the beginning. You're attached to how you felt in your body when he was fully engaged. Desire, chosen, excited, turned on, open. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. The issue is when your mind ties that feeling to a person who does not constantly show up for you. If he were consistent, clear, and communicative, and the chemistry was strong, you would not be confused. There would be no internal conflict. The conflict exists because your body feels satisfied in moments, but your emotional safety does not. Your nervous system deserves calm, not confusion. Many women will say something incredibly self-aware in this situation. They'll say, I know he's not right for me. I know this is probably just a lesson. But that voice is your higher self. This is the part of you that values emotional safety, steadiness, and depth, even if you're not looking for a serious relationship right now. You do not have to want to have commitment to want consistency. You do not have to have labels to want clarity. You do not have to be looking for forever to want to be respected and feel respected. So let us talk honestly about the physical component, because ignoring that would be unrealistic. When you have been in past relationships where the physical connection was not fully satisfying, and then you experience chemistry that feels intense, validating, and magnetic, your brain goes into preservation mode. It says, do not lose this. This is rare. But here's the truth. Great sex is not rare. Aligned sex is rare. If you keep accepting inconsistency just to keep access to the physical connection, your nervous system begins linking pleasure with instability. And over time, instability becomes normalized. This is how women become bonded to men who do not meet them emotionally. The attachment is reinforced, not because he is deeply aligned, but because the cycle is unpredictable. When someone truly wants to show up, they do. Busy men text, busy men call, busy men make time for what matters. Inconsistent men say they are busy. Effort does not require perfection. It requires intention. Alignment does not feel like guessing. It feels like knowing. So what do you do when you recognize this pattern? The first step is to regulate the chemical pull. Right now, your brain associates him with reward. That association needs to be interrupted. That means no contact, no checking social media, no sending the quote unquote just checking in message. Every time you engage, you reset the craving cycle. Detachment is not about punishment. It's about detox. The second step is replacing the dopamine. You cannot remove a stimulus without replacing the reward. Exercise increases dopamine. Creative work activates flow state. Social connections release oxytocin. Flirting in a harmless way reminds your brain that attention is not sacred. You are not craving him, you are craving intensity. Channel that intensity into something that builds you. Third step is anchoring in self-respect. Ask yourself this honestly. If nothing changed and this exact pattern continued for 3 months, would you feel chosen, calm, and secure? Or would you feel smaller? Fast forward even 6 months, would you respect yourself for staying in something inconsistent just to keep access to chemistry? Now I want you to imagine something clearly. Picture the version of you 6 months from now who chose steadiness over spikes. She's calmer. She's clearer. She's not refreshing her phone. She's not wondering where she stands. She's not analyzing mixed signals. She's not negotiating for breadcrumbs. She either has someone who shows up consistently or she has her peace, and both feel better than confusion. Now ask yourself honestly, which version of you feels more powerful? The one chasing intensity or the one choosing alignment? Because this moment right here, when you recognize the pattern, is where your standards either rise or quietly lower. And I want to take this a layer deeper because this isn't just about staying in something that is not meant for you or doesn't even feel good. It is about where you are investing your time, your energy, your attention, and your emotional availability. When you continue giving your effort to someone you already know is not aligned for you, this is not neutral. This is self-betrayal in small doses. It is choosing fear over faith. It is pouring your life forces into something you already sense is not built to hold you. And if we are honest, most of the time, it is not because we believe this person is our person. It is because we are afraid that if we let go, we will not feel that chemistry again. Afraid that we will not be wanted like that again. Afraid that maybe this is as good as it gets. And here's something even more honest. We're addicted to being wanted, even if we know it's not what we want. When someone desires us, when they pursue us, when they look at us with hunger or excitement, it activates something deep in the nervous system. It feels validating. It feels powerful. It feels affirming. And when that attention is inconsistent, it becomes even more intoxicating. Because now you are not just enjoying being wanted, you are chasing the return of it. Any attention starts to feel better than no attention. And this is where the line gets pretty blurry. Attention is not alignment. Desire is not devotion. Chemistry is not consistency. And being wanted is not the same thing as being chosen. When you keep entering inconsistency out of fear that you may not find something better, you're not just risking your time, you're lowering your internal standards. You're telling yourself that fear of not finding someone again is stronger than your belief that you desire something better. But the truth is, the moment you experience strong chemistry once, you prove to yourself that you are capable of attracting it. The scarcity is in your mindset, not in your desirability. Being secure is not about pretending that you do not care. It is about being willing to sit in temporary solitude rather than investing your energy into something you know doesn't meet you. Because loneliness is uncomfortable, but misalignment is coercive. Loneliness passes, self-betrayal lingers. And the woman who is secure being alone does not chase attention just to feel validated. She waits for alignment. And here's something I want you to really think about. There's another layer to this that most people do not think about in this way or even consider. But what if by holding on to this person, it's stopping you from finding the one that you're actually seeking? Is that person, that feeling, that inconsistency worth holding on to? When you are giving your time, energy, attention, and emotional space to something that is inconsistent, you're not just settling, you are occupying space, and space matters. Because relationships require capacity. They require time. They require emotional availability. They require presence. They require energy. If your nervous system is tied up in a hot and cold dynamic, if your mind is replaying conversations, if your energy is invested in deciphering mixed signals, this space is being taken up. This is the energy occupying the space. And here's the question most people never ask themselves. Is this inconsistency, this push and pull, this hot and cold, this almost taking up space that someone aligned is meant to step into? Because the truth is you cannot fully receive something steady while you're entangled in something unstable. You cannot say you are open to aligned love while emotionally entertaining misalignment. Energy does not lie. Your attention is still hooked on someone who gives you uncertainty. You're not actually available for clarity. And sometimes we think we are just keeping our options open, but in reality, we're keeping our nervous system occupied with hope, occupied with fantasy, occupied with waiting, and waiting takes up space. The man who is meant for you, the one who is consistent, steady, and clear, it requires room. Room in your schedule, room in your attention, room in your emotional world. If you are constantly managing the anxiety of inconsistency, then the room's not open. And this is not about punishment or scarcity thinking. It's about capacity. Aligned connection needs space to land. And sometimes the very thing blocking what is meant for you is a thing that you already know is not. These are not questions designed to shame you. They are questions designed to anchor you. If you choose to end it, it doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to be emotional. You can say, I've enjoyed getting to know you, but I am realizing I want something more. Consistency that feels right. You can just say, I'm taking a step back and I wish you the best. And then you stop responding. No follow-up, no late night weakness, no reopening the door because you miss the intensity. You are not cutting him off because you are angry. You are cutting him off because you are choosing alignment. You're choosing you becoming the girl. He isn't choosing you. The part of you that still wants the physical connection is not wrong. She's human. So do not shame her. Just lead her. Leadership over your own nervous system is power. If he texts any night wanting to come over, notice what you would feel first. Would you feel calm or would you feel that spike of adrenaline? Adrenaline is not intimacy, it is activation. Activation can feel intoxicating. When you have been craving intensity, but long-term alignment feels steady, this is not about closing your heart, it's about protecting it. You're not losing pleasure by walking away from inconsistency. You're upgrading the container that pleasure lives in. The fact that you're experiencing strong chemistry once means you're capable of attracting it again. But next time, you can pair it with steadiness. You deserve to feel wanted without wondering. You deserve to feel chosen without negotiating. You deserve to feel desire without destabilizing. And when you detach from intermittent reinforcement, something powerful happens. Your standards recalibrate. Your nervous system resets. You stop mistaking anxiety for attraction. You move from almost to aligned. That is so empowering. It is not weakness. I am so full of love and gratitude that I get to share my story with you. This is her subconscious blueprint where we don't just chase the dreams, we become them. And remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So go out and be that version today. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.